everybody's like this. Hands in the phone, looking at, nobody was talking to each other.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is now, you know.
Everything now is online bookings and it works really well and the guys love it and business-wise it's fantastic, so there's no downtime and la la la. But I still miss, we'd have people sitting outside on the bench and loved it. Being in business pre and post-COVID, are you finding these times more challenging? Are you finding new challenges?
Don't forget, we came from 2 world wars, and I don't think anything's been as bad as COVID.
It's not a 15-year lease, that's for sure.
I don't think there's many like that now, though, is there? I don't think anybody's taking on it.
No.
It's
still the same.
Hi, welcome to the Noble Barber podcast. I'm Anthony Laban, and we'll be talking to various people in the industry who've made it and their journey and how they got here. Talking honest, cutting through the crap, and making sure your story and their story is heard to help your business and hopefully mine. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
Hi, welcome to another episode of The Noble Barber. We're back again here for part 2 with Joth, with Nick and with Andre. Guys, we spoke previously, obviously, about our backgrounds and our beginnings and the trainings. Really, I want to talk about the future and the growth and how business is for you. We've had a few chats with younger guys, but here I've got someone owning a business that's been barbering for over 100 years, and you're about to launch a whole new business in a year's time.
Yeah, I guess it's a trap.
So we're covering the whole
here in
thing.
the corner. I'm the young guy and also starting the business, and these guys it's a trap.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. But that's the whole point. So I guess really, we're all very aware now how barbering has evolved over the years. It's, no more with you, that how your great-grandfathers 100 years plus were doing compared to now. And most of it's good. We have a great, there's a huge amount more opportunities, but, we have more shows, there's photographic, there's stuff. Do you know what I mean? That does make it bigger than the rooms we cut hair in. But how do you feel about the client's expectation, trends, the technology that's come into it, or just the predictions of how it's going to continue to evolve? There you go. That was a big topic, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we just touched on it a minute ago, sort of off camera, where there's a whole new sort of generation of when I used to work for your dad and going back and your granddad and all that kind of stuff, it was always you were employed as a barber, not self-employed. But now I don't know actually of any barbershop other than yourself who actually does employ people. They're all sort of self-employed. So now it's
employ people still.
He's a self-employed,
I thought I was the lone dinosaur for a minute.
No.
And now you've got. Are you
We employ people.
Oh right, I thought you were self-employed.
Bit of both. Bit of John Field's all employed.
Right. Okay. Oh well, that's good.
Yeah.
Then you've got the suite scenario where there's a building and a space, and people just go in and rent a space and then work from there. So they're just like one chair, as opposed to just operating themselves. But there might be other hairdressers, barbers, beauticians, tattooists, whatever in there. There's so many different ways to sort of step into that now, whereas obviously going back again when I was working with Nick and for his dad, that wasn't an option. You worked in a barbershop and you were employed, and
you signed a big lease and you took on staff and you had the responsibilities that went with that. And
you don't obviously realise that when you're working for someone else, and it's not until you go and do that by yourself that you realise that, oh yeah, there is this big building that I've signed like a 15-year lease for, and I have got to keep making sure.
And I've
got to put my house up, for grabs if something goes wrong. And we've all, again, we were talking about this earlier with Nick in terms of people that we've had work for us over the years, and some good, some bad, and even the bad ones are not bad people. They were just young, just didn't understand. And I like to think that obviously when they left, some in a good way, some in not so good a way, that when they go on to run their own shops and they then have to sign a personal guarantee for the building for the 15-year lease, and they've got to make sure that you know that money's still going through the till to make sure that the doors are open to keep everybody in the work. That then they might kind of look back and go, you know what, Joff was right about that. You know, when we had that disagreement we had, and you know, so it's a really it's quite complex, I suppose. Really, is the way you know, because when I was working for other people and doing the sort of same thing, I had no idea about personal guarantees and putting your house up. Well,
when you finished work, you went home and you forgot about it until the next morning.
You know, and as you just said, you don't. I work 7 days pretty much. You know, Sunday I might get a few hours on a Sunday, but
you're on call.
Even when the shop's shut on a Monday, because we shut on a Monday now, post-COVID, which we'll go into as well, because there's all the paperwork and a whole load of other stuff and that needs to get done. So really, Sunday is my day off. I don't go home and switch off. I go home, and my wife works with me in the company. She's not a barber, but she does all the clever stuff in the office and HR and wages and all the other stuff that needs to get done, and stock ordering and all that other stuff. So when I get back, the conversation continues. And I know, and you may get this as well, Andre, but I know you'll both get this as well when you come home and you get, actually you won't, because you work with your wife, don't you, as well, so you probably won't get the same thing. You get back and because you talk all day, and all of a sudden someone wants to strike up conversation with you.
She tells me
I'm
off
like,
for talking about it, but it's actually her.
Is it? All right, yeah. Well, I go,
she's terrible.
Can I just, so what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Why? And I'm just like, I'm knackered. I've been talking all day. Last thing I want to do is to continue to talk about work. But we have to, because there's things that need to be discussed. And so there's just, you get home and there is no switching off. There isn't. That just has to be done. That's part and parcel. You have to just get used to it.
You just
Do you
need
get to cook your food
30
first?
minutes.
Or
Sorry?
do you get to cook your food first and then talk
Oh,
about
to
it?
be fair, I am very lucky where that's concerned. My wife does everything. I come home and my food is ready. It's done. It's finished. It's there. On hot, everything. You know what I mean? She does all the washing.
Southern between two Yorkshiremen. What
Oh my
chance
God.
have I got?
Yeah, it's just.
But you're just
what
about to
I
start
like.
something very new. You're coming at the other end of this.
Yeah, I'm actually going to do it with my wife. Lesson learned. No, because my wife is a tattoo artist. So basically, we're going to do a barber and tattoo. And
And this is you're taking a building, you're doing a
it's not a 15-year lease.
setup.
It's not a 15-year lease, that's for sure.
I don't think there's many like that now, though, is there? You know, I don't think anybody's taking on it.
No,
No,
You're
it's still the same.
I think there's a few things of doing business that changes. I'm not sure about the big shops like Joth used to have like a 10-chair barbershop, and I think back in the days it was more like barbershop teams and stuff like that. And I think the industry is going more and more individualistic. It's not a bad or right or wrong thing. It's just that barbering in itself, to some extent, also dies in that way, because the industry died back in the day, like the 80s when the long hair came about. But I think the barbershop, like the banter and the team and those kind of things, is kind of being lost a little bit because everybody wants to go their own way. So maybe for us in my case, coming into business, to understand that maybe we need to be a little bit more hybrid, in the sense of like perhaps, yes, team, but give freedom to some extent to the barbers to do their own. And if we hire and I say this with no experience or further experience into business, it's just the way I look at it for the future. Maybe for us if we hire for character, then it's going to be okay to some extent. Because I remember working with Joth, and it's like, if I have something, I give due notice. If I need to do something, I can't go this week or this or that. It's just a matter of how you do things. It's not what you do. So basically, yeah, the education side of things come in, the social media come in. So barbers now do a lot more than just being behind the chair. And they can do that if they understand that there is levels to it, and they need to adjust accordingly as well to tell the boss or the person that is in charge of the business to make it right. Yeah, so more hybrid. I think like the team is getting a bit disrupted.
Just needs to be respectful, doesn't it? I always said, because my barbers
That's
are
the
all
word.
self-employed now, apart from obviously the apprentice who's employed. And, you know, if they want to take whatever holiday they can do and take whatever day off or whatever they can do, all that kind of stuff if they need to. And I try to be as flexible as I can. But what I just say is, look, what's good for you is good for me.
Yeah.
So I am running a business here. If you all want next week off, that doesn't work for me. There's a procedures that you need to go through to make sure that the shop still runs smoothly, because that still has to work, because everything still has to be paid for. So you just want that. I hope that that's done in the right way, and I think through experience and time served again, you kind of you learn the hard way sometimes what not to do and what the right way to do it is, and also I do feel that I've kind of got a lot more tolerant of I don't think not tolerance, not the right word, more relaxed about dealing with those things and learning how to deal with those things and trying to make that happen for the barber that's asking those questions, if possible. Yeah,
You've got to be flexible. That is for sure.
Yeah.
I think if we start dictating too much, then you'll end up with no staff, so or no team. So I've always been a big believer trying to help out my team as much as we can. If they need a day off, if they want a holiday, and try and bend over backwards because that's how you get the best out of people. It's like it's like a football team, isn't it? You keep it close, and they want to work for that particular shop. So, but I think like you were saying about hybrid of all that's happening in all industries at the moment,
100%.
and we have to, as a business, like we were saying about evolving. We have to look at different opening times. When you're saying you're shutting Monday now, you've got to look to see what's going to work best for you now. And also, I'm speaking to this about my brother at the moment, about looking at adapting potentially our opening hours, because, we've always opened at sort of 8 o'clock, 8:30 every day. And, and the younger sort of generation don't want to be there at that time. You've got to just look at adapting things and being flexible to try and, make sure that works for each individual. What works for one don't work for another.
Yeah, and obviously when you've got a lot of people working for you, it's difficult to try and sort of make everybody happy. And it's like what Andre said. Yeah, I mean, I've got
Can't do one for more than
7 barbers
the
now, but there was a time when there was there was 15 of us in that shop total, 10 barbers, 3 apprentices, myself and Annabelle, and it was great, and it was the boom in barbering, when everybody was just getting wanting to be a barber and wanted to be cool, and it was all that thing, and we had this, it was all mostly walk-in service then as well. We just started doing appointments when we moved in there, which was just over 10 years ago, and this big bench that ran down the middle of the shop, it was probably about 30 foot long, wide enough to sit people sort of back to back without actually sitting back to back. And people were sitting and waiting 3, 4, 5 hours. Some people giving up an entire Saturday just to come in and get a haircut because the atmosphere was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All those barbers in there and all the customers sat waiting, and it was good. But I knew then when we moved in, when I saw that wasn't gonna last forever. The bubble was going to burst, and we'd have to do something because we were missing a side to the business where guys just couldn't come up in the lunch hour and get a haircut because they just didn't. They couldn't. They wait an hour and then go, I've got to go. Unfortunately, or the guys coming in on a Saturday, like the affluent guys in Sheffield that wanted to come in and get those haircuts, but didn't want to sit and wait for 4 and 5 hours. But we made something of it. We had bands coming into play and fridge full of beer, and it was all that. We tried to sort of do the best that we could at the time. But the reason why I put that bench in the middle is when I go back to before I went to work with you, Nick, and your dad, there was an Italian Barbers, which is where I really learned barbering, because that was the first real barbershop I worked for after several years of hairdressing. And walk-in service, typical Italian barbers, was on a little sort of main road going out of town, and there was 2 Italian guys that ran it. And it was me and another girl that worked there, and it was a busy shop. They were there 50 years in total, so they were doing something right. The Italian community would come in all day, mostly not having the haircut, just come in, sit down, drink coffee, read the paper, and they would be gestating to each other in Italian and mostly talking, all this kind of stuff going on. And it was great, and I love that. And all the clients are on the bench, and the same, for when I was working with you, Nick, and your dad and stuff, and everybody's talking to each other, and I was like, great. And then I looked into barbershops, and I was looking at how the American barbershops did it, and I was like, yeah, they all turn the chairs into each other, have the backs to the mirrors, because we don't use the mirrors to cut hair, we use the mirrors to talk to your client, don't we? So I thought, right, we'll have the bench down the middle, we'll turn the chairs inward, then the barbers are facing the clients, who's facing the other barber on the other side, and we'll have this 10 barbers' chairs facing each other all the way down the full length of the shop with 40, 50, 60 clients. Oh, and I wasn't imagining that amount of people on there. That just sort of happened purely, whether it was by accident or by design or through the boom, whatever, it happened. And then day one, we opened up the doors, 30 people outside queuing to get in. You open and they all get in the chairs and the bench are on, and the guy's in there, cameras up in the corner doing a time lapse, and we filmed the whole day in the shop. And if you look on our YouTube channel, you'll see it. I think it's called Day in the Life, and it's the first one, like 21st of June 2015, 14, something like that, whatever. And you'll see how busy the barbershop is. 10 barbers flat out, like first thing in the morning.
You miss that?
I miss it. But the point I'm going to get to is I miss that atmosphere. But what I was trying to create was that thing. But then the barbers was so used to working in the mirror, they couldn't turn the chairs around. They couldn't get it in, can't do that. So they were still facing the mirror, but then you've got all these guys on the bench. And if you watch the video on YouTube and look at it, everybody's like this. Hands in the phone, looking at, nobody was talking to each other. And it was just, and I kind of was like, that's really sad, and I thought about doing that thing, putting a sign up on the wall and going, we've all seen it, pretend it's like 1980 and talk to someone and put your phone down and all that kind of stuff. But I was just like, that's just the way it is now, Yeah.
I think that's, I love that. I mean, everything now is online bookings and it works really well, and the guys love it, and business-wise it's fantastic, so there's no downtime and la. But I still miss, we'd have people sitting outside on the bench and loved it. I mean, one of our stores, our first barbershop's 10-foot square, so it's tiny. But, we had seating outside for, 12, 15 people, and they'd just sit. And in the summer, we'd stick a bucket of ice beers out there, and they'd help themselves. And when the winter came, it'd be cups of coffee all round, and they'd just sit and sit. But now, people are all day long nipping. So many people working from home. They want to book in between.
We still get it there. I mean, even if you've got all your chairs going, there can still be some good.
Yeah, there is.
But from how busy it was and how many people stood up and had an argument on who was next and stuff like that. You miss a little bit of that, I must admit.
But do you find it now though? But, I mean, there is a change.
What's Nick?
Couldn't swap it back, could you?
No, I couldn't go back to walking again now. We've not got enough waiting space now to do that anyway. But yeah, I mean, I knew when we moved in we had to do that, and I started doing appointments before we moved in because I just couldn't fit the people in I needed to do, because I had a few shops at that point then anyway, and so I thought, well, I'll start doing appointments, and I was like, oh, this is working, and then I added somebody else in, and another one, and then another one, and then gradually, as people started to realise they could make appointments, and because I didn't want to throw everybody in straight away and everybody get booked up, then all the walk-ins still arrive and sorry, we haven't got room for you. Because even that was a thing as we slowly started adding people in. But yeah, now it really works, because it's all about the customer. It's not about us, because sometimes it doesn't work for us, because sometimes people don't turn up, and you don't get paid when they don't turn up, and you can't get that appointment in, change it to the last minute. And although some of these apps have options to take money and stuff like that, I don't always like to do that if unless it's absolutely necessary. I just think if you've made the appointment and you've not turned up and you've not called us to let us know or anything, then really you've had all the notifications, you've made the appointment, and we've got a sort of right to take the money. I always just kind of go, let's see how many appointments he's had before. And if he's a serial abuser, you just kind of go, okay, we'll take the money. If not, and he's had 30 appointments, 40 appointments, you just kind of go, look, everything okay? Oh no, I'm so sorry. It's like, okay, no worries.
Things happen. That's what happens.
You try and be like respectful where you can, yeah.
But we've definitely seen. I mean, that's something that's either gone or will go. Everyone I speak to opening up shops and stores now have chosen their booking system already, and no one, if it's not already dead, the walk-in is.
I can tell you that I'm opening a shop and I'm not concerned about foot traffic. So basically, it's a good area and there is foot traffic, but I'm not concerned about foot traffic because I rely a lot on the work I do behind the scenes to get customers. Plus, I do think, and in Zurich especially, I do think people prefer the appointment because you basically organize your life a lot better. Like let's say on a Saturday and you go and get your haircut at 10 and you know that maximum 11 you're out and you have the whole day to do whatever you want. And the lunchtime that you said and everything, it just becomes better.
But with these, I mean, there are changes. Are you finding, being in business pre and post COVID, are you finding these times more challenging? Are you finding new challenges? Are you finding new solutions for some of these new challenges?
Well, I mean, us and Nick have had the same problems being in Sheffield, yeah.
Since COVID, I don't think there's ever been anything. I mean, we don't forget we came through 2 world wars, and I don't think anything's been as bad as COVID. Wow. So, we're still here.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
That's insane, man. That's insane. What you just said, I think people don't really realize, but what you just said, like.
Well, Sheffield was hit badly in Second World War, the Blitz, and one of our barber shops was destroyed that night. But Surrey Street survived and is still there today. We've got a great letter on the wall that is basically from the landlord of the shop that was destroyed, saying that they're not going to charge us rent anymore. But we still owe a little bit money for some water. But
there's some great photos as well because I remember working in the shop and seeing the photos where the cross tape across the windows and stuff for the bomb blast and stop all that and the candles on the fingers, cutting hair at candlelight and all that kind of stuff in the blackout.
Yeah. There's some good ones. Yeah. There's some good ones. We've probably got more that we've not put up. We need to probably get them up at some point.
Yeah, that's just a great history.
But I think going back, the COVID. Like we are saying, we're still here, and you've got to adapt quickly, otherwise you'll not be here. And things are changing rapidly now. We've all had our sort of staffing problems and whatever. When you've got shops of this size and our size, you can't run it on your own. You need a really good team around you, and luckily we've got some incredibly loyal staff who we've looked after and they've stayed loyal to us, and have grown older with us as well. As I'm getting old, I'm 48 now, and you're all growing old together, but you look after them, and they could have gone and worked anywhere, they haven't, and I'm very appreciative of that. And long may that continue. And then you've got to mix the blend of bringing a new generation through the business, because if you don't, the wheels have gone.
The wheels are going to stop turning.
Like you say,
keep bringing that through.
We've got to keep training. We've got to keep educating, and we've got to keep being passionate about what we do.
Yeah. I mean, COVID is the reason why we're in this building now. Is why we moved, because we were, on a great street, Devonshire Street, just around 5 minutes walk from here, and we're there for 17 years, something like that in total. Within it, literally just moved from one shop to a bigger shop directly across the street in that time, and that was a really great area in its time. There was loads of great independent retailers on there, like clothes shops.
Great nightlife.
Yeah, great nightlife. It was good in the evening. And then over time, that sort of footfall's just sort of gone off a little bit, and more food and beverage has gone in, and less sort of retailers on, as the high street's taken a kick in from the internet and all those things that you can get on there. And there was less smaller independent retails being in a position to be able to do that, because these big blue chip companies that were doing all the online stuff and their big retail outlets and everything were just killing the high street. That really affects that sort of that part of that area there. And it was a really young area as well, because all the halls of residents are around there, a lot of them as well. So it was cool. But then I could just see it being sort of chipped away a little bit, but we were there and we'd become a bit of a destination anyway. So people were still coming to us, which was great. And then sort of COVID happened, and then they filled in all the car parking spaces that were on the street. They filled in the middle of the road so that the bar and the cafe could have outside seating, which was all supposed to be temporary. But then they never.
We've had a
a
major problem in Sheffield. Obviously, having to deal with COVID, and then the council sort of making everything in their power to make it very, very hard for a business to run in the Sheffield city centre, and they will 100% not agree with that, but they have.
I almost felt at times like they just didn't want they didn't want retailers in the city centre.
We have a laugh. We say you may as well put a moat around the city centre and let people swim across to us. Now it's
then they put a clean air zone in on top of that as well, just after COVID. So we just get through COVID. We just recover from it. We're trying to find back on our feet. We're trying to pay off all the debt, and then they go, "Oh, here, have that. Here's a clean air zone."
And they shut all roads off.
People coming back in, and then you've got
this massive argument with them. But unfortunately, they will do what they want to do, and probably the people who are making these decisions will probably have moved on in the next couple of years somewhere else to another job anyway. And all these little oppositions that we keep coming up, we're having to fight, and it's not just about standing there and cutting hair. We're having to deal with all these little things that are being chucked at us, and it's quite stressful, isn't it?
Really? Well, it is. Yeah, we 9.5 months we all know of being short, and we had to dig really deep to keep us afloat into personal money, because.
That's
the grants
of being the owner.
And that's it. It's got to be an owner again, and the grants
money is your money, and vice versa.
Yeah, and then landlord was just like, "Well, your rent's due this month," and I'm going, "Well, okay, and he's going, "Well, you got the grants," and I'm like, "Yeah, we've got the grants, but we've also got mortgages, we've got cars to pay for, we've got kids to feed, it's not that money's not just for you, it's for everyone." And they was like, "Fuck you, pay me."
If it was just for them, we may as well have just given it to them in the first place.
Yeah. And so we did that, got through, dug deep, got the loan out, all that kind of stuff to help you sort of keep you through it. And then all that clean air zone and all that kind of stuff happens and everything. And then, but they were building this sort of area around here around that time and spending a lot of money. And I'd already entered the conversation with them before COVID anyway, because it was always something on my mind, because I could see the way that sort of street was going. But then I wasn't expecting to sort of come out of COVID with all that kind of that debt and then the shop be quiet, because then you've gone from like, well, everybody's working from home still. Nobody's coming into town. And so I actually opened up another shop in the suburbs to balance it, which actually worked really well, because then like from day one, it was exactly the same as you. We opened literally like 2 days before closing in December, and then got shut for 3.5 months. But then when we came back, it was great, and that was balancing off what was happening in town a little bit, because we were really busy there because everybody was working from home. Nobody was coming into town, so that sort of kept that going. But that mean I had to go there by myself and get that back off the ground like I'd done all the other ones. So I couldn't be on the one in town. I couldn't spread myself between the shops, because although pre-COVID I had sort of 8-9 barbers. Some of those left during COVID and did their own thing, and one went back to his city up in York, and another one opened up his own shop, and then somebody went to left the industry altogether. So you come back with not as many people, but then that kind of worked out because we weren't busy enough, and because I didn't have enough bodies, we then had to shut another day.
Earth, didn't it?
Yeah, we had to start shutting Mondays because we just didn't have enough bodies to feed the shop during the week. And if someone was on a holiday and someone was off sick, we just didn't have
the
enough
working
people.
from home thing, and that's another thing, because that's never going to change now.
Yeah,
that's happened, and although a lot of companies are starting to move people back, it's never going to happen fully because people don't want to do it now. They've got that lifestyle of being able to just go and do 2 days. So that is another major thing that has affected or had an input now on what we do.
And look, we've all got these stories, and we can talk about these things all day long. But we're going back to what the conversation started which is all about what you have to go through as you're running your business and what you have to do and what you have to put yourself through. And that was just something we just had to suck it up and do it and deal with it and dig 100%. Deep and carry on. And look, here we are now, having to do all that and then having to do all this all over again is not what I expected or wanted to do. But I'm here and I'm glad we've done it, and we will continue to be here.
But it's that resilience, I think, that comes into you when you've run a business or when you're running a business. And I think from my point of view, within a week or so of running my business, and I'd signed some terrible lease that had personal guarantees and they owned more of me than I owned of me and all that kind of stuff. But within about 2 weeks, I just realised the kind of dawning of what being a boss and what it was really like. And it wasn't about, ordering another glass of champagne and swanning off on the back of a yacht. It was about standing up and keep going. And, it's certainly in the early days and then with COVID, as a boss, you can feel like there's someone, kind of taking shots at you quite regularly. How do you guys and how do you cope with that side of things? The actual kind of just, that everything stops with you. If you decide, if you're gone, it all just falls apart.
I'm sort of, I don't know if I'm more lucky in that respect now, but I can sort of fall on my brothers who were part of our business as well, and we share the responsibility. We share the burden, and me and my oldest brother Paul, we speak probably every morning at 7:30 before the day begins, just to talk about a few different things and what have you, and just have a go at each other and all that type of thing. But it's a big help, to do it on your own. Is I would say a harder.
Oh God, it is.
And I know you've got Annabelle as well, and you're going to have your wife.
Yeah.
So there's an emotion that goes with it.
You got to really love it.
It made me really ill, and I didn't realise it was making me ill until it was too late, till something happened, and then as I then went to coaching, therapy, whatever you call it, afterwards to try and find out what there was, to try and call shop's busy. I'd got loads of different shops. There's a partnership with someone, then split, and then there's all these sort of like years of all sort of build up of things, and I started to get pain in my right arm. One day, it just felt like, imagine when someone gives you like a burn when they twist your wrists and stuff like that, and it felt like that, but on the inside of my arm, all the way up my arm, and I'm thinking, well, it's just a bit weird. Let's just go away. Anyway, this thing never went away, and it was constantly radiating up and down my arm. Go to the doctors, what it is, and then again, 12-month story short, I go backwards and forwards to the hospital, and they throw test after test, nerve conductivity test, ultrasounds, MRIs, CTs, all these things, all nothing, zero, absolutely nothing. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is this? This is not going away. It's horrible. It's constantly there. And then I was having a conversation with a friend of mine on the phone who lives down in Oxford, and in the same week, another friend of mine, a barber friend in Canada, who were both going through really traumatic sort of marriage breakups involving kids, etc. And they were both going through therapy, coaching, whatever you want to call it. And they said that they'd both been described as having PTSD. And I was like, man, that's kind of something you get when you're coming out of like the forces and you've seen your mate blown up next to you and all the rest of it. And they were going like, no, what you're going through is really traumatic. And that's what that kind of thing is. And how he described it to me was, and how it was described to him, he says, imagine you've got this there's a part of your brain, let's call it this little glass, this part of your brain that filters stress. So you're met with a stressful environment. And for me, like, if it was confrontation with someone or whatever, and you kind of go, okay, I'll deal with that as best as I can now, but I'm so busy, I've got to deal with the next thing, and then something else comes along in a short space of time, and then that happens, that part of your brain fills up with something, and then you don't deal with that, and then the next thing comes along, stressful situation, work environment, whatever that is, somebody leaves or somebody opening their own shop, somebody, whatever that is, again, the glass fills up. And eventually, if you're not dealing with this thing as it happens, your glass fills up to a certain point and then basically overflows and spews out an adrenaline and can go anywhere in your body. For me,
That's what it was.
my arm.
Wow.
And so I went, I didn't realise that until I heard what he said, and the sort of alarm bells went, and I thought, I'm going to go and see someone and speak to someone, and then I went through and I was like, right, talk to me about your business, what you do. And I said, well, look, this is happening, but I really don't like confronting people. I hate like falling out with people. I'm always trying to sort of go all the way around and try and make it a bit nice and calm rather than doing the whole confrontation. Like, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? That wasn't me. I tried to sort of dance around things. The other thing was, and I'd say this a lot in interviews and stuff in the past, and people would always ask, oh no, what makes you want to keep better? And I'm like, well, look, I'm never happy with a haircut whenever I've done it. I always hate it. I always look back on it, and there's so many photos and videos that I've never seen the light of day because I'd look at it and go, I hate that now. I'm never going to post it. I don't like it because I don't like that bit there. Or I don't like that bit. And I always sort of joked and said, if I ever do the perfect haircut, the head comes off and goes on a spike on the wall. I walk out the door, lock the door, and I never come back. So there's no such thing as a perfect haircut. And she went, that's terrible. That's the single worst thing you can do. Perfectionism and confrontation, all those things, because you are constantly beating yourself up. You're never happy and you're never dealing with that problem directly. And once those kind of light bulb moments went, oh my God. And I went, it was like, almost like sort of touching a button within weeks and months, and like the pain had gone from my arm and it's never come back since.
But I think that does get lost in there really easily. And like you say, yours is evidently diluted with your brothers to some extent. Yeah. But, I do, obviously I'm not worried about you, Andre, you're fabulous. But I do worry that guys going into it just aren't quite prepared for how really it comes. And you need to be able to talk about it. And I think I'm quite surprised looking back just how stressful it's been. That, as a boss, as an owner, it's not just a job. It is your job. Everything's your job. It's not just...
Especially when the VAT's due. And
Well, yeah. Well, that's another thing as well, isn't there? That's another thing that's sort of affecting the industry as well, isn't it, really? And aside from the regulation is the VAT issue as well, because when you're running your business properly and you're not magically keeping it below that sort of threshold, and you hit that VAT and you're into the sort of 20%, it's then, everybody else that's magically keeping it below that threshold has got another 20% to pay people. Has got another 20% margin on everything. And it's like, how can you compete with that? I know you talked about it in one of your podcasts recently where you said the guy across the street is charging less than what you are, or was it the same?
Yeah, we charge £35. You take the VAT off as £35 haircut, and it's 28 quid.
Yeah, and that's what he was charging, 28 quid. There you go.
And that's that. It is just maths. That's all it is. But yeah, no, it's the VAT's not going away anywhere.
No.
I mean, I think there's been lots of moments where we thought it would. I think, unfortunately, Rachel Reeves hasn't done anything exciting with the budget at all. The budget just came out as, let's nail the employers a little bit harder, and it's only added more stress to the bucket.
I don't know. I mean, it just
as long as I think from a new person like yourself going into a business, you've just got to make sure that you don't bottle things up, and you do speak to people regularly and get things off your chest, because we talk about mental health problems, issues and with younger people. Well, I think it affects. It can, if you're not careful,
case in point,
it can affect everything.
Now, for me, for instance, I'm going into business in January, but I opened the business in 2020 in January, 4th of January, and in March we started with the lockdowns because I had a business with two friends back in Portugal. I wasn't happy in Portugal. That's why I moved. So I passed my part. But the business is beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything that we set out to be, and they're doing amazing. I'm so happy for them. But we had not only the COVID, but it was in Porto city center, quite next to the traditional market. So the traditional market was under construction, and it was like a 3-4 year thing. And we caught it. It was still, I think, 2.5 years that we had like construction right in front of the door. So we had COVID and a freaking thing outside of the door that just one person could pass. So it was just because my friends had a business before and we merged my connections with the international and their connections with the customers that we were able to survive. Plus we managed in a way that we had funds to support as well and to pay all the people that we were employing, because the shop was 6 chairs. We were working, it was quite a few bunch of barbers, but we managed to pull through. And as you guys were saying, it's like, yeah, it becomes more than just being the barber, and you really got to love it, because you're going to shut the door of the business, but the door is always open in a way. So you bring that to the house. How am I going to be able to pay this person? All of a sudden, it's not just about you, because you're quite okay if it doesn't work out for you. But then if you have like 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever you guys have, families to kind of be there for them. It's not that you feed the families, but you got to be there for them and make sure that the business runs properly so they can have something to do. And it gets stressful sometimes. So you really got to love it. In my case, it's kind of peace of mind. I do it because I always, since a young age, I always said, even if it's really small, maybe it goes to what the new barbers are saying now. Even if it's really small, I want to have my own space, because it's like, I want to do it as I want, as I believe. It doesn't matter if you make more or less, but I want to have my own space. And that's my motto or my motivation or my drive for having my own business, for sure.
Well, I'm very glad that at your very young age that you've had as much stress as the rest of us. It makes me feel much better.
Yeah.
So
you thrive on it.
I mean, I do think there's a bit of it. And again, each time we've spoken, there's certain bits that you can feel the passion move in the room. And when we're talking about our businesses, that's exactly how it goes. Because I think we're so locked into it. They're so entwined. And I think the frustration that a lot of business owners I speak to have, including myself, is we're good employers. And I think if you're a good boss, I certainly feel like we get nailed against all these bad bosses constantly. And you kind of go, can we just kind of go, actually, just for a moment, there are quite good bosses out there that care about their business, but also care about their teams and their people. And that's like the mass majority of the guys that I speak to, including you guys. It's we want to do and we see our businesses as good from top to bottom. It's not about what we're just getting out of it; it's what we're putting in as well.
100%.
Well, yeah, you all I think from day one I just said, look, if the barbers are happy, then that feeds back in. But now I kind of really would rephrase that, and I did rephrase it pretty quickly after that, realizing, because yes, you want the barbers to be happy, but really it's the customers. If the customers are happy, then they're coming back in, then the barbers are going to be happy because they're busy, and then that feeds back in. So I always said to when I'm with the new apprentices, or if it's a new barber and everything, I just kind of go, look, I walk through the shop and there's something to see and I don't procrastinate anymore, because that's another thing that's bad that I used to do, and still do actually, but not as much. And I try to be a little bit more direct about it when something's not right, rather than letting it go, and then blow up and deal with it straight away. It's not that I'm just sort of being funny with you. It's just it's because I'm always putting myself on those seats there as a customer. What do I see that I don't like? if I see a customer in the chair and I see one of the barbers around them doing something that I think would make the customer feel awkward, what is it that customer doesn't like? And that's the bit that I want to fix, because then I know if the customer's happy, he's going to come back in, barbers are happy, they're busy, shop keeps turning. Yeah.
I think it is, as you said, it's that factor of service providers and service without servitude, that we do it well, and I think that's really important. I mean, if you guys were starting again, I mean, you have started quite recently, but did you change anything? You've started new stores. You obviously moved. You're just about to embark on another business. Did you learn from the previous things? Did you do things differently?
100%.
If you were doing it again, like today, like his, would you change it?
Constantly learning.
I would do it different in the sense, for instance, when I opened the business with my friends, I always had this idea of big and wow, and people need to look at the shop and be like, wow. And we did open a 160 square meter shop in the freaking heart of Porto. And it's an amazing, amazing space. But now I look back and the investment and the headache and all that stress, the responsibility. I think nowadays, and it's what I'm doing now, you dream big, start small, and grow fast. So basically, like before, I think I started, and it worked out and it's amazing. But before, I think I started from like the end goal, all that investment and everything, without maybe doing what I did as a barber, which is like slowly. So maybe, if you have a great idea for a shop or a brand, then maybe you don't need to start straight away from you can work towards it, and whatever it is in the beginning, you can build it up to where you want to go. I think it's,
I would agree with that, definitely.
We live and learn. I mean, this is the fourth time I've moved Savills now, and Savills actually started just that side of town on a little sort of side street in a little 3-chair shop.
That was a learning curve, I think.
Yeah, and that was just me and nobody else, just sat in there, and I was sat there, because it was freezing cold, and there was no air conditioning, no heating in there or anything, and I would sit there with my coat on, with a laptop in front of me, just watching film after film after film, hoping someone's going to come in. I never had one day where I didn't have anyone. I had a few days where I only had one person come in. But I was opening it like 7:30 in the morning, because I had this idea of like, people kind of come in and have hot towel, wet shaves and all that. And then I quickly realised that that's not going to work. So I was open from like 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock till like 7 o'clock at night. And then I was like, and I changed the hours to suit where the clients were coming, and then got a bit busier and needed an apprentice to help me out, and then got a bit busier and needed another barber, and then obviously grew that to another shop. But I mean, at that point, I'd already had another one on Devon Street, because I was in partnership with somebody else. We had another one just on another main road out of town, and another one in Doncaster. So that was a whole other learning curve as well. So although this is the fourth Savills, it's actually the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th shop and probably 10th shop fit, because some of those were refitted quite a lot, because my business partner then wanted to do the salon for men's hairdressing, and I wanted to do the old school route, and then that's how we sort of ended up sort of separating and doing our own thing. So like you just said, Andre, that's where I've got to get to that point. And so I have like learned every time, don't do that, don't put that there, don't put that there, change this, don't deal with them. And you kind of like get a little bit more relaxed about things, and it gets a little bit easy. No, it doesn't get easier. That's a lie.
So you're nodding. I can't believe you're nodding to it gets easier.
Well, I think we've took on different shops, and we're down to 3 barber shops. Just before COVID, we were 4 barber shops. And they've all been well good. We've got one on the suburbs, which is where I generally work now, and it's very different to what it was down here. But it is not now. It was, but it's definitely sort of integrated a lot more now.
And is that your busier shop now as well?
No, it's not the big. No, they're all. I would say
they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah. But it's a busy shop. It is a busy shop, very. But it always has been. We've had it 15 years now, that shop.
Yeah, it's a great location, yeah.
But learning wise, you pick up different things. I mean, like I say, I've always worked in my family business, so I never actually worked for anybody else ever. Which probably sometimes I regret a little bit but that's why when I've done a lot of work with American Crew, I've been able to work with a lot of different people in the industry, which has given me knowledge and experiences and things that I would like to bring back to my business. And I think that's where I've learned all my sort of bits from. Really.
Yeah, I would agree as well, that the opportunity to travel and teach and do what you love doing as well. Like, I mean, if I go back to when I was kind of like 15, 16, and that snotty-nosed kid being shown how to sweep up and was all like, and then thinking, like 30 years later, I'll be like teaching in South Korea. I never would have dreamt it, and it's took me like all over the world, and I have an opportunity to work with some amazing brands, and which I'm really thankful for, and to work alongside some amazing people as well, because there is there seemed to be this like a smaller group of people that were doing those education roles from different countries, and so I've got really good friends in Canada and America and all across Europe and Italy, and and I can call on those people, and I've been to their barbershops and looked in there and seen what they're doing, and that's really cool. I'd like to bring that back here, and how they did that beard trim was like amazing, or they did that shave, and you just kind of go, oh my God, he just made that look like a knife through hot butter, and all these sort of things that you're able to bring back. And also as well, because I think that was a nice thing in terms of, and maybe Andre might speak to this as well, that one of the things that I know a lot of people wanted to work for Savills at the time was that opportunity to do that, because I always tried to take somebody with me where I could. So, Andre 100%. Came with me to Rotterdam when we did the Project X with Scorum and Ruzel, which was amazing to be part of. And
and a lot of those connections, for me, for instance, they still remain till this day. All those people that I met, it's because I was able to do that, and he provided me that. Yeah.
I've done the same experiences, and it is. I mean, as well. I mean, me and Joth actually, we only live like 5 minutes from each other, don't we? And but we're sort of competitors in the city centre, but we're not enemies or anything like that.
No, we know. I mean, and we have Nick and I are very strong in our opinions of, we have never poached. I mean, I've had barbers that have worked for me that went to work for Nick, and I've had barbers that worked for Nick that had gone to work for me, but we never poach from each other ever. We never have, and we never poach from anybody else. And that's one thing I've always hated about our industry. And I don't think it happens quite so much now, but in the hairdressing industry, it happened a lot. And in the early days of sort of barbering, that was constantly happening. And I've always hated that. I just think, if you're good at your job and you're running your business properly, why do you need to poach from somebody else? Just advertise the position and they'll come. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always done, and that's what Nick's always done,
I think taking care of your own business is our job as business owners, is start and finish. Mm-hmm. And I think I genuinely believe that half the problem with the kind of skills shortages we've got is coming from exactly that. I spoke to so many people, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to teach them, they're going to leave. What's the point in teaching them? They'll go somewhere else, they'll go and start their own thing. Mm. Some will, but that's the whole point. If I make 10 more barbers, and you make 10, and you make 10, and we got 40 odd more barbers floating around. There'll be more barbers for me to have.
It all goes back down to that one thing. It goes back to training every single time.
Yeah. And I think that commitment to it.
It's also really if you have that kind of mentality of if you have that kind of mentality that your barber is going to go and probably is going to take your clients and stuff like that, probably you're not focusing too much on your business, because if you did, it wouldn't be a problem, because you're doing your best. And then if somebody leaves, it's because maybe they like that barber more. It's not because the failure of your business. So I think this mentality of like, oh, they're going to leave and take everything I have, it's not a good way to do. It's the lack is on you, not not the person that is taking.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
No, I mean, like I said, we had a store open opposite Lost Barbers. We had we had what you would kind of class as a perfect storm over at one of ours. Hasn't touched the soil, hasn't made any difference at all. Business is great, everything's the same, everyone's really happy. I've got a fantastic person that's just coming on board, but at no point did our takings change. It's not our clients absolutely love us; they love what we do. We really are different. It really is a very different space. And I think if you make your place and you have your tribe and people know who you are and what you stand for, then I think that's the kind of keys to the start of a strong business, I think. Yeah. And I think if you've got one of those missing, it's just something there to trip you up, I think.
Yeah, well, whatever you're worrying about what somebody else is doing, you're never concentrating on what your own are you? And I used to have this.
But do you guys have any, do you merge all yours? I mean, I know you do lots of different things, but how do you decide on your future, on your focus? Which bit of you is business, which bit is kind of artistry, which bits, I mean, for all of you, which bit's education? How do you?
Delegation's tough for me. That's been another one of my things that I'm trying to work on.
That's
delegating,
been tougher though since COVID, I think. Before COVID, I was spreading my wings a lot more. I was popping around the shops a lot more. Since COVID, probably a smaller team has made that like that, where I've sort of been forced, and the appointment thing has made me do that as well, because I've ended up building this bloody clientele up that I didn't have to worry about too much before.
Well, you haven't got the flexibility of just going, it's a walk-in service. I don't know who's coming in today, so I need to be there and just go and do that. You have to be in that
sort
shop,
of there, and you can see, all right, I can't go anywhere today. But I think it potentially has affected as well the creative side of it as well, where unless I start block loads of time out, I can't do my creative side about it a little bit. So that's something for me moving forward now that I want to focus on next year.
Yeah. We've been talking about that with Andre today as well. That was something,
it just, otherwise it just feels like we're just trying to keep things going as they are. And putting out fires. And, we're in this job to be creative at the same time. And that's my 100% focus for next year.
So I've added something to my price list now, so that you have haircut, facial, beard trim, and then I have creative freedom content haircut.
Yeah.
So the appointment's for an hour. Yeah. It's a slightly cheaper haircut, but it says in the blurb, this haircut is for me to create content. I want a completely free reign. I'm not going to do anything you don't want me to do. I'm not going to shave patterns in or anything if you don't want me to, but it's just to give me sort of freedom and time to film that, whatever.
Play about a bit.
More, I'm trying to focus more on the consultation aspect of filming that, as opposed to actually the technical aspects of the haircut, because there's so many of those online anyway, and that's giving me, occasionally I might get like one or two a weekend, and then I might go through a month or 2 months of not having any, and then I might have, but every now and then it just gives me that. And then it's also, I'm not sticking a camera in the client's face and going, remind me, film me doing this sort of thing. It's like they're coming in and expecting of that, and it's giving me a little bit more time to move cameras around and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the thing for me. I was always
well, I actually copied it from a girl that I was doing some education with, who was based in Chicago, and I saw her post it and do it, and I said, "That's brilliant, Taylor. Do you mind if I steal it?" And she was like, "No, go ahead." So
I was always no, it's okay. I was always a one-man band. And in the beginning, when I was like younger and always this fire to kind of like put stuff out and those kind of things, I used to take pictures of the clients and those kind of things. And then with experience, I understood that I think that the client pays for the service. So it's not cool of me to take advantage of that. If I see it's a good model or something, I call him after hours or something, and then I do the haircut, and we take more time, and I offer the haircut. So basically everything that I do with content from that day forward is always like extra time. So I do it on my day off, or I do it after hours, and that's how I do usually the content. Business-wise, I think probably you guys much better can tell, but it's a mix of things. Like you take care as you go. But I do believe as things progress with my new business and I have a team and everything, I need to allocate time for that as well, because you can't grow a business if you work only in the business, right? You got to work on the business, not in the business all the time.
Yeah.
And then
Time
you basically get stuck with that. So you got to, especially like I'm a lot into brand. So basically like to really build a brand outside of just the business aspect. And you need to do that by thinking of ideas to bring like the freshness and new content and those kind of things. Because my background is graphic design, so I do like the content side of things and the not the artistic, but like the sort of like more than just the cutting hair, because it gives me motivation. I do content because otherwise it would be a job like any other else, and I chose because I love it and I want to take it to a different level, not just the thing behind the chair. It gives a bit more motivation to keep on. So you need to allocate that time, otherwise it's not possible. You get sucked in.
Yeah, no, I think you do get sucked in. You get lost. I must admit, I definitely have to take a run up at it, and I have to focus my brain on each bit, and I think I definitely have to stop and go, right. Like you just said, I miss being creative. I'm going to be creative. I really want to work on the educate. This is what we're going to do. And I have to decompartmentalize.
Yes.
Why do I use words like that? But I just have to kind of split it up so that I can really understand this is what I'm doing now. I think I've done a lot of that's business and that's me, and I'm juggling away to try and keep it all going. And I'm much, much better when I kind of go, I'm focusing on this. Today I'm behind the chair, I'm cutting hair. Tomorrow I'm now educating. This is how we're going to approach our education. And the lovely thing about being the boss, because it's really easy to talk about the bad bits, is we are still in charge. If you get up and make a decision that you go, you know what, I hated that. I hated that last week. I hated it last month. I hated it last year. In fact, I fucking hate that. We can get rid of it. We have that power to kind of go, right, how are we going to do it differently? How am I going to change it? Yeah. What am I not going to take into tomorrow? What am I not going to carry on with? And I think that's a really powerful.
It is. You're right.
It's just organising your week, right? Isn't it? I mean, we obviously shut Monday, but that's so Mondays, we're at home and it's paperwork and back end and all that kind of stuff.
My Mondays all paperwork. Tuesday
to Thursday I'm teaching, and then Friday, Saturday I'm by appointment. So, and then not all week from Tuesday. Every Tuesday I'm teaching, but and then with the apprentice, it's just quite far on now, so I'm not having to sort of babysit as much. So then I'm a little bit freer on the Wednesday, Thursday, so that I've been trying to sort of be a bit more active with the social stuff, but it's a real kind of like love-hate relationship like with me that now, because it was so good for us for such a long time. And it did drive our business and definitely the education role for me, because that's why I was teaching in so many different countries, not only with Wall or with Mizutani, but also just as Savills as well, and taking people away from that. But that's just an animal in itself.
Are you finding you're enjoying some bits now? You've got the academy separated. Do you find you enjoy that more, or being behind the chair more? Have you got
I like it all. I really like cutting hair because it's easy and I'm good at it, and I like those 2 days of cutting hair. And I do think, because there was a long time when I wasn't doing that because I was away like a week or 2 weeks in every month, and then when I came back, I was teaching on the academy, and then I was away. And I really missed cutting hair, and I do think that affected the teaching aspect of it as well. So I really want to keep those 2 days in. And as much as I have this love-hate relationship with the social media and doing that content, I do really enjoy doing it when I'm doing it. I just need to sort of get back into it. I mean, Andre has from January last year is been posting every day, and he's posting every day for a whole year. I don't know how he's done it, right? Because I just couldn't do that.
Today was 336, and I do a video
with content, every day. Different content every day. That's just a feat in itself. Yeah,
no, it's incredible.
Yeah.
No, it goes back to what we were talking about. Like in your case, it's the business. In my case, it can be the content. I'm really into it. And it's like, yeah, I finish up work. Some people ask me like, oh, did you batch content and stuff like that? No, mate, I do it every freaking day. And sometimes like my wife is waiting for me or something. And I'm just like, fuck, I don't know what to post. And I'm trying to come up with an idea.
Yeah.
Then I have an idea. Then it's like recording. Then it's editing. And all of a sudden it's like 2.5 hours sometimes in that
That
day.
is unbelievable.
It's his
like-
videos. It's not just like,
Oh, no,
well, this is what
no.
I'm doing today. It's proper. It's
No,
all
you
edited
got to come up
and
with
things.
something.
and
It's a nugget of information that somebody can take something out of it. And it's been on like for a long time. It's like, my God. But hey, it's true. Like, consistency and everything. I can.
So this is from January the 1st this year.
Yeah, and I had 10K followers when I started, and at the moment I'm hitting 32K. So it does pay off, and a lot
You've
of
only
people.
got another 4 weeks to go, so
Yeah. And the thing is, like people like within the industry that I kind of look up to as well, and sending messages. So it does pay off, like the business. Like if you're consistent and you put in the work,
You've had a lot of work from that as well, haven't you? A lot of educational work.
a lot of education and stuff like that, and people really like connect on a deeper level as well. Not just the as we talked about, it's not just hair. So basically, it's a way. There's this thing. I can't remember who said, but someone can trust or buys from you. Someone will buy from you if they consume 7 hours of your content. It's kind of like this idea that someone needs to consume a lot from you to decide that they can trust you. So if you put that work in, and it's the same with the clients behind the chair, right? They come a few times and they have this trust in you for whatever. And it's the same with the content. Like if you put yourself out there more than just the haircuts, otherwise you're going to be the same as everybody else. If you put yourself out there as a person, they listen how you speak, what you say, your opinions about stuff. They start to build a relationship with you. It's not just a page of portfolio. And that's what I've been doing for the last year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really impressive. It really is, and I think that kind of that honesty is a big part of being good and being approachable.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, we are all, when we're behind the chair and when we're dealing with our client, we're spectacularly honest, I think.
You have to be, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, guys, I think that's brought us very naturally to the end of part 2. Don't get too excited. There's not a part 3, but there will be more to follow. Guys, it's been an absolute joy. I think
Thank you very much.
I think the viewpoint of owning businesses is resoundingly the passion that all of you still have. Aside from the kick-ins, the sleepless nights, the worries, and the never-ending amount of content. It's been a joy. Thank you for listening to the Noble Barber podcast. Thanks.
Welcome to the Noble Barber podcast. We're always looking for interesting people and interesting stories. If you know someone or you are someone with a great story that you want to share, get in touch and come join me on the sofa. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the episode and we'll see you next time.